We already got 500,000. We don't need her anymore. I froze with my hand inches from the door, the words landing harder than any slap I'd ever taken. I hadn't even knocked yet. I was still standing on the welcome mat I paid for, listening to my own name being erased like a problem someone had finally solved. Then my son's voice dropped lower. Careful, almost gentle. We have to find a way to get rid of her. Before she finds out. Something in my chest gave way. Not loudly, just a quiet snap. Like an old thread pulled too tight. My name is Diane Foster. I am 68 years old. I stood there telling myself to breathe, telling myself not to do anything stupid. I had just come from the gas station down the road. The one with the flickering light that never gets fixed. The lottery ticket was folded inside my purse, pressed flat between old receipts and tissues. $5 million written in ink. Still felt fake. Like a typo someone would call me about later. I had been practicing what I would say. I swear I was. I'd rehearsed it at red lights, kept it simple. Tried to make my face look calm in the rearview mirror. I was going to help. That was the plan. That was always the plan. Inside the house, I heard a cork pop. The sound carried through the door like a celebration meant to be shared. Laughter followed. Too relaxed. Too sure. I leaned closer without meaning to. The smell of spilled champagne slipped out from under the door. Sweet and sharp at the same time. I remember thinking how strange it was that they could afford that. I stayed there longer than I should have. Long enough to feel foolish. Long enough to understand that whatever family I thought I was walking back into had already moved on without me. My fingers tightened around the strap of my purse. The ticket inside it felt heavier now. Not like hope. Like proof. I could still walk away. I knew that. I could turn around. Go back to my car, pretend I heard nothing. Instead, I reached for the handle and pushed the door open. The door closed behind me, and the room went quiet in a way that felt rehearsed. Laughter cut off mid-breath. Someone moved too fast. The air shifted. It was impressive. Honestly. How quickly joy could disappear when it wasn't meant for me. My daughter-in-law reached for a stack of envelopes on the coffee table. Not slowly, not casually. Her fingers wrapped around them like they'd been waiting for a cue. She held them up. Already sighing. Already tired. Bills came again today. We were just talking about it. My son stayed where he was. Eyes fixed on the floor like there was something important down there. His shoulders slumped on command. Long day. Came out of him without effort. I'm exhausted. I nodded, because that's what I've always done. I asked if everything was okay. Kept my voice light. Kept my face neutral. It took work not to look at the couch, where a champagne glass was being pushed out of sight with a foot. I caught the cold rim for half a second before it vanished, leaving a damp ring behind. Money. That was the word they leaned on. Tight. Worse than last month. Stressful. The same language they'd been using for years. It flowed too easily, like lines memorized a long time ago. My daughter-in-law talked about groceries, about utilities, about how things kept piling up. Every sentence landed with weight. Meant to settle on my shoulders. She didn't look at me when she spoke. She didn't have to. My son finally glanced up, just long enough to see if I was buying it. His jaw tightened when I nodded again. Calm on the outside. A mess underneath. Something felt off in the rhythm of it all. Not the story itself. The timing, the confidence. They weren't worried. They were managing me. I stood there listening, feeling my pulse in my ears, realizing the balance in the room had shifted without anyone announcing it. They were steady, controlled. I wasn't. I let them finish. I didn't interrupt. I didn't argue. I just took it in. Every word stacking quietly, knowing this wasn't the end of the performance. It was the setup. I waited until the noise settled, until the bills were stacked neatly again, until the room felt balanced on its fake calm. Then I gave them something simple. People at the store were talking, came out of me like small talk, about the land near here, something about buyouts. The words barely landed before my daughter-in-law moved. That's not real. Too fast. Too clean. No pause to think. No curiosity. No confusion. Just a firm wall dropped into place. Just rumors. Followed immediately. Already dismissive. People love to talk. My son nodded along before I could even look at him. I heard the same nonsense at work. Slipped out smoothly. Nothing official. No letters. No offers. Not a beat missed. Not a breath taken between lies. I stood there watching it happen, feeling something shift inside me. This wasn't scrambling. This wasn't fear. This was coordination. They knew exactly what they were denying and why. I let the moment stretch. Long enough for the refrigerator to start buzzing louder. Filling the space, they wouldn't. The sound pressed against my ears. Sharp and constant. Oh! I let out quietly. Good to know. My daughter-in-law smiled then. Just a little. Relief flickering across her face before she caught herself. She reached for the bills again. Straightened the stack. Turned the conversation back where she wanted it. Things are already stressful enough without gossip. My son leaned back. Arms crossed now. Comfortable. Settled. Like a man who believed the risk had passed. That was when the last bit of doubt drained out of me. They weren't worried I'd heard something wrong. They were worried I'd heard something true. I felt stupid for not seeing it sooner. For confusing familiarity with honesty. For thinking exhaustion explained everything. I didn't push. I didn't argue. I didn't ask for proof. I nodded once. Let them believe they'd closed the door cleanly. Inside. Something else opened. And it stayed open as I turned away. Already listening for the next move. The papers came out all at once. Slapped onto the table like a decision already made. Just sign these so we can move forward. No easing into it. No explanation. The stack was thick. Corners squared. Ready. My son leaned in. Blocking the edge of the table with his arm, his voice sounded different now. Lower. Firmer. Like he'd practiced that tone too. This needs to be done tonight. My daughter-in-law slid a pen toward me. Slow and deliberate. Stopping just short of my hand. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. It's standard. Everyone signs. There's no reason to complicate things. Something tight wrapped around my chest. But I let my shoulders droop instead. I let my fingers hover over the pen, then tremble. I knocked my elbow against the mug by accident on purpose, and tea spilled across the pages, soaking the bottom corners. Fell out of me. Breathy. Weak.
The irritation came fast. Be careful. We don't have time for this. While they were busy pulling papers away, blotting at the mess, my thumb slid across my phone in my pocket. One tap. Screen dark, recording on. My son straightened. Impatience leaking through. This is about protecting the house. About keeping things clean. My daughter-in-law crossed her arms. You don't want problems later. Lawyers, courts, that kind of mess. The words weren't loud. They didn't need to be. The threat sat right there between us, heavy and calm. I picked up the pen again. My hand shook worse this time. I leaned over the table, slow, careful, letting them think I was folding. I signed, not the way I always do, not the name they expected. My left hand dragged the letters out uneven and wrong. I used the name I stopped answering to decades ago. Tea dripped from the edge of the paper onto the table, darkening the wood. They didn't notice. They were already breathing easier, already reaching for the stack like it belonged to them now. I set the pen down and pulled my hand back. Heart pounding, face blank. They thought it was finished. It wasn't.
I didn't go back to the house. I kept driving until the urge to turn around passed, then passed again. Lydia's place was quiet. She looked at my face and didn't ask for the story first. She poured coffee and pushed the mug toward me like that was enough to start. "You look steadier than I expected." That surprised me. It surprised me more that my eyes stayed dry. My hands didn't shake. Something inside me had gone still. Like a switch flipped without asking. "I don't want comfort," came out flat. "I want clarity." She nodded once and picked up her phone. The lawyer didn't waste time. Papers slid across the desk. A screen turned my way. Numbers lined up neatly, like they'd been waiting for me to show up. "Your son authorized the sale weeks ago." The pen in his hand tapped the desk. Once, twice. Like this wasn't new. Half the compensation is already released. 500,000 total, 250,000 gone. The words didn't hurt the way I thought they would. They landed, then settled. So that's real. Slipped out of me. Came back without softness, and the document you signed tonight wouldn't hold. I didn't react. I had already known, not the details, the shape of it. The pen kept tapping. "What do you want to do next?" I looked at my hands. Calm, empty, useful. "I'm not here to fight." The tapping stopped. "I'm here to step away." Lydia watched me closely then, like she was waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. I felt something close over in my chest. Not anger. Not grief. Quiet. "I won't explode." I told the room. "I'll disappear." The lawyer leaned back. "Then you move first." That night, I opened my accounts. Not all at once, not enough to raise flags. Small transfers. Clean ones. A new account. A different bank. A number my son didn't know. Carefully. Patiently. I shut my phone off after the last confirmation. Outside, my car idled. Inside, the plan settled into place. I wasn't looking for answers anymore. I was clearing space. I came home later than usual and knew before I reached my room. Drawers were open. Not rummaged. Not sloppy. Open like someone had been careful, methodical, looking for something specific. My clothes were still there. Jewelry untouched. Nothing stolen. That somehow hurt more than if things were missing. On the bed sat my old watch. The one I stopped wearing years ago, placed right in the middle, face up. Like proof, like a message. Dinner happened anyway. We sat at the same table, plates set the same way. No one mentioned my room. No one needed to. My daughter-in-law talked first, voice tight with effort. The electric bill came again. I didn't reach for it this time. "I'm not paying it." The words landed flat. No warning, no apology. My son's chair scraped back hard enough to sting my ears. "You live under this roof." The tone wasn't tired now. It was sharp. Controlled anger slipping through. "You don't get to decide that anymore." My daughter-in-law leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Unless there's money you haven't told us about." There it was. Not concern, suspicion. "I don't have anything you're entitled to." The room went still. My son's jaw tightened. "If you can't contribute, maybe you shouldn't be here." The threat sat on the table between us. Heavier than the plates. "You've been acting strange," my daughter-in-law added. "Closing accounts. Being secretive. So they'd noticed. Not enough to stop me, enough to panic. I'm allowed privacy." That earned a short laugh. "Not when you're hiding things." I looked at them then, really looked. At how easily the words came, how quickly they'd turned from pressure to accusation. Family didn't search drawers. Family didn't line up excuses. I wasn't being pushed out because I'd done something wrong. I was being removed because I knew too much. I picked up my fork, took one bite, set it down untouched. I won't be paying another bill. My son stood fully now, hands flat on the table. "Then we're going to have a problem." I met his eyes and didn't look away. The watch on my bed ticked quietly in my mind. counting down to whatever they were planning next. It started with the jewelry. My daughter-in-law stood in the doorway of my room, holding an empty box like evidence. The necklace is gone. No confusion, no searching, just accusation. My son followed close behind. Already tense. That piece your father gave her. Solid gold. The words landed with weight. Meant to crush. I didn't even look at the box. I didn't take anything. A sharp exhale came from her. Then where is it? My son rubbed his face. Slow, deliberate. This doesn't have to get ugly. That was when the police entered the room. Not physically. Just as an option. We can call this in, he added. Casual as a weather report. Let them sort it out. My chest stayed still. No panic. No rush. Another folder appeared on the dresser, thicker than the last one. He flipped it open and pushed it toward me. This clears everything up. You sign. You leave tonight, and we don't take this further. My daughter-in-law crossed her arms. It's better for everyone. The threat wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It sat there, confident. I picked up the pen. My hand didn't shake this time. The signature went down smooth, familiar wrongness, calm lines, final enough for them. Relief showed immediately. My son's shoulders dropped. My daughter-in-law let out a breath she'd been holding all evening. Good. Came out of her. Pack what you need. I didn't argue. I opened the closet and pulled out one suitcase. Just one. Clothes for a few days. My toothbrush. Nothing sentimental. The zipper caught halfway down. I tugged once, then again. It finally slid shut with a small, ugly sound. They stood in the doorway while I carried it past them. Neither asked where I was going. Neither offered a ride. Neither looked worried. The front door opened. Cold air rushed in. This is for the best, my son muttered, already turning away. I stepped outside without responding. Behind me, the door closed fast. They believed it was finished. I kept walking, the suitcase heavy at my side. Already knowing how wrong they were, the hotel room shut behind me with a soft click that felt louder than it should have. No voices, no footsteps, just quiet, too quiet. My suitcase sat by the door like it didn't trust the place either. I didn't unpack. I sat on the edge of the bed and waited for something to catch up to me. It didn't. The call came the next morning. Please confirm your ticket number. I read it off slowly, twice. Afraid my voice would crack and give me away. There are options for anonymity. I'll take that. A pause. Papers shifting. Processing will begin today. My hands shook for real then. Not fear, not excitement, something in between. Like my body finally understood what my mind had been carrying around all night. I didn't celebrate. I didn't call anyone. I didn't even smile. A week later, I signed for a small apartment across town. Clean, plain, nothing that announced anything. The manager slid the keys across the desk and glanced at my hands. Moving alone, for now. That was enough. I changed my number that afternoon. Sat in the car while the confirmation screen loaded. No dramatic goodbye messages. No explanations typed and deleted. Just a clean cut. The phone went quiet. Not immediately. Messages still came through on the old number for a while. Missed calls. A voicemail I didn't listen to. I turned the device off and left it in the glove compartment. The silence felt wrong at first. Like I'd forgotten something important on the stove. I kept waiting for guilt, for doubt, for the urge to fix things. Instead, I slept. At night, the elevator hummed up and down the shaft outside my door. Steady. Predictable. It reminded me that people were coming and going without me needing to know why. I stopped explaining myself because no one was asking, and I didn't offer. I lay awake listening to the building breathe, realizing how much noise I'd been living with before. Silence wasn't empty, it was space, and I was just starting to understand what could happen inside it. I didn't hear it from them, not directly. Lydia's voice came through first. careful, like she was testing the ground. They're burning through it. I didn't ask what it meant, new furniture, trips. Things they don't need. Another call a few days later. A different voice this time. Someone who knew them just enough. They're fighting a lot. The words stacked up slowly. Spending faster, arguing louder, doors slammed, nights ending early, the house feeling smaller, apparently, like it couldn't hold both the money and the resentment at the same time. They keep asking where you went. That part landed differently. I kept my answers short, non-committal. I didn't offer comfort. I didn't offer advice. I told myself that staying quiet was the plan, that this was what I chose. Oh, there were moments I almost broke it. My phone lit up one afternoon while I was standing in line for coffee. A name I knew by heart flashed across the screen. I turned the phone face down without reading the message. My hand lingered there longer than it needed to. I hated that part of myself. The instinct to fix, to smooth things over, to step back into the role that kept everything from collapsing. Another update came later that week. They're blaming each other now. I could picture it too easily. The money sitting between them like a third person in the room. Loud, demanding, impossible to please. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel relief. Just a steady awareness that this wasn't something I could stop without losing myself again. The phone buzzed once more. Then again, I left it where it was and finished my coffee. I stayed where I was. And somewhere between one unanswered call and the next, I understood that not moving was the hardest thing I'd done yet. They showed up on a quiet afternoon, names flashing on the panel downstairs like they still belonged to me. I didn't open the door. I pressed the intercom and kept my voice level. We just want to talk. The words tripped over each other. Apologies came out crooked. Too many at once. Too late. My son sounded smaller than I remembered. My daughter-in-law rushed to fill the gaps. Promising change. Promising regret. Promising anything that might open the door. I let them finish. Then I played the recording. Just once. No warning. No build-up. Their own voices filled the line, calm, certain, talking about getting rid of me before I found out. Silence followed. Heavy and complete. That wasn't fair. My son tried. Breathtaking. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I didn't offer a version of events that made anyone feel better. This is where it ends. The intercom went quiet. I ended the call and pressed the button for security. A calm voice acknowledged it. Routine. Handled. I sat down after. Hands steady, listening to the building settle. The click of the intercom shutting off sounded final. The way a door sounds when it locks itself. The lottery money was still mine, untouched, sitting where I put it. I didn't know if I had done the right thing. I knew I had done the last thing. I learned that staying costs more than leaving when respect is gone. Silence can be a boundary that keeps you whole. Choosing yourself does not always feel clean, but it can feel complete. If you stayed with me through this, thank you. I appreciate you listening. And I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments when you're ready. If these stories resonate, stay close and follow along for the next one.